Welcome to the Keys to the City podcast, where the kingdom enables your success. I'm your host, Christian Graham. Welcome today with one of the biggest real estate agents that I know here in San Diego. Actually is a champion, just got the championship belt for quarter one, selling 14 units in a single quarter. CJU, Cameron Justin Yu, also from the U Group and also representing Team Z Realty. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and say hi.
My guy, what's going on, guys? Thank you, Christian, for having me. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Long time coming, so just grateful to be here.
Cool. So, here we are. How long have you been in the real estate game?
So this year will be my fourth year full-time. I got my license September 2019, and then I went into it part-time like 2020, so working another full-time job, doing it part-time, and then I went full-time in February 2021, so... Yeah.
So in the span of 3 years, then you've gone from selling how many units back then to now being the top agent at your company right now, for at least for this quarter. And you've always been really like top 3, top 5 in your company since going full time.
Yeah.
What's that experience really been like, going from selling 14 units in this quarter, like? Play back for everyone what it was like selling your very first unit.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Yeah. So, man, looking back, I mean, just tracking my numbers yesterday, I'm at 95 total in my career so far, about to hit the 100 probably in the next month or so.
Yeah.
And looking back to when I first started, it took me, since I got my license to actually closing on my first deal, was about 10 months to get that first paycheck.
So September 2019
until about August
of the next year.
Yeah, August of the next year.
Of 2020.
Yeah.
And that's when you were going like part-time at that point.
Yep, part-time. So I had another full-time job. Didn't want my employers to really see it. I didn't want to get fired or have any kind of issues with them. Like, hey, you're working another job.
Yeah.
My goal was to get into full-time. It was never, I'm going to stay part-time forever. I want to go all in. I don't want to have a foot in, foot out. But the hardest part is getting that first deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it was scary. I was like, man, and that was COVID. I'm like, I can't meet people. I can't see people. It was all Zoom.
Yeah.
We even had that Zoom that one time, right? It's just like helping out business owners back then, and just connecting with people, DMing them and showing houses with masks on, having to have them sign off that, hey, you don't have any symptoms.
Right.
To be able to show the home.
Right.
And, yeah, it was crazy.
Dude, that is a crazy experience. So I didn't know that that's when you had launched, because we had launched Smack in, June 2019. And then, the lockdown ended up happening for us, as well, 8 months into opening. And so going from that transition period, like, I feel like, do you feel as if the pandemic never happened, that you would have maybe entered into the real estate full time sooner? Or was it because of the pandemic that really kind of got you into this part-time position for that long?
It's a good question. I mean, I think the only thing that got in the way from me being able to jump in full-time, and because that first, when I was part-time, I was able to do one in August of 2020. And then it was like between August, so, the 8th month of the year till December, I closed 6. So it was just like one and then boom.
Wow.
And so, but the difference didn't matter on the COVID, didn't matter about that. It was, I just wasn't telling enough people. I was the secret agent. I wasn't posting on social media. I wasn't really reaching out to people, or I expected them to know already when I wasn't doing any deals.
Yeah.
And so for me to just, closed mouths don't get fed. So I literally wasn't getting fed deals because I was keeping my mouth shut and I wasn't telling people about what I do.
Gotcha. So is that then the key to being a top real estate agent, is just, continue to open your mouth, continue knocking on doors, continue picking up the phone? What's your key?
Yeah, my key is definitely connecting with people. I've always loved that and enjoyed it prior to real estate. Is how can I connect with people? How can I make their life better? Who can I connect them with?
Right.
And how can I apply this in any business? And it just happens to be in real estate. And so the mindset shift of, hey, the more I can connect with people, and I'm even, a few years in, I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface in my potential, which is exciting. And at the same time, I'm like, man, could I have done it sooner? It's like, no, I think that's what helped me to be where I'm at now, figuring it out. There's things that I, lessons learned as we go. It's never a loss. It's just challenges and lessons as we go.
Yeah. No, for sure. One of the big things that we, share in common is actually really how I got to really get to this walk and level in my faith is really, a huge contribution to you opening your mouth and really being a vessel in faith, and stepping out in faith. And it was us linking up for a business meeting.
Yep.
We were just there to kind of, talk over at Smack In, and we were grabbing lunch.
Yeah.
And I think this was probably the first time that we had ever met in person, period. We had a lot of mutual friends, and we knew of each other.
Yep.
We knew that we were making impact in the community and things like that.
Yeah.
But
2021.
2021.
Yep.
And this was the first time that we had met in person. And I was just like, hey, can we pray over our food real quick? And then you're like, oh, I didn't know you were, Christian. And, I just wanted to respect your boundaries, but sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then, we go into prayer. We ended up, having our business talk. And then we just kind of, God kind of just started to steer the conversation to talk more faith.
Yeah.
And you ended up inviting me to LOCF, Love of Christ Fellowship Church, where you had been serving since you were a youth.
Yep.
And you're like, I'm going to be leading worship this Sunday. So, come on by. And then at that time, Steph and I were going, what's it called? Virtual.
Yep. Elevation online.
Yeah. Elevation online and stuff like that. And we were like, oh, sure. Let's go check it out. And we've actually been at LOCF ever since. And so when I think about that, like that part of our business and how that really takes shape in how we navigate through business.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it's the timing, God's timing, then that allowed you to go from this part-time position into full-time? Or was it just something that you were like, kind of more in your permissible will, like, hey, I'm going to just do this. And, it's, I trust that God's going to lead me through it, but
yeah,
I just feel like I'm going to just take this step for myself. What do you think was really at play?
Man, I think at the end of the day, when I haven't thought about that like that. I mean, being able to think about it now, I believe it is God's will. I didn't plan it where I'm at now. I wasn't like, hey, 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be where I'm at now. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was figuring out what I was going to do post graduating with my undergrad in biblical studies.
Yeah.
And I was figuring it out. I was jumping from doing this to doing that. I was like, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to start that business. I started a couple businesses, but never got to where I thought the vision would be. But I had to go through all those hoops and loops and lessons learned and business partnerships, whether it stayed or didn't stay, and those lessons there. And it's I think me just kind of day by day, week by week, just moving forward with what God puts in front of me, and I need to be the best steward I can. And how do I get better? Who can I surround myself with? And even just learning in relationships of, back when I was a photographer in 2015, that's kind of what was the jumpstart from leaving corporate 9 to 5 and kind of figuring it out how I can make money and make commission, or be able to, sell myself to sell a service. And I think from there, I enjoyed just that aspect of things. I mean, even backtracking a little bit more into middle school or backtracked elementary, when I was just like, hey, whatever they tell me to sell, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to be a top dog there, and I want to get all the prizes. And in middle school, I got top 10 or whatever to be able to get on the limousine. And so I've always kind of, pursued it or chased that. And so now I'm in my career, I'm just like, I have big goals, big aspirations. Then I have to go back and like, why do I want those things? Why do I want to make that amount of money? Why do I want to close these amount of deals? And it's shifted, before it was, I would say it's more selfish. But I got into the business world because I believe there's a space for us to be, entrepreneurs and have this ministry here. And, there's been awesome testimonies of me being able to pray over my clients, be able to be there for them, and,
Praise God, man.
Being outside the four walls. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's something that I've really had to learn, and really what Pastor Arthur has been helping me navigate, because I feel like at different seasons in our life, like we have a tendency to try to go on our own accord, especially as businessmen.
Yep.
But it's still being obedient to doing ministry in the marketplace.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I tend to realize is like there's been so many me being like a serial entrepreneur, like I've always been in a multitude of different spaces, whether that be having my e-juice business at 16, 17 years old, having my DJ business by 18, having the barber shop, business by 18, 19, and then now we have like kind of the big leap businesses with like Smackin' and the lab. And it's always a kind of like walking this line of just staying obedient in the assignment that you're called into. I think that a lot of times we feel pressured and even the world will kind of pressure you to like walk into your purpose, walk into your calling, you know, like these are all big terms that people are using. But the thing that separates us is like, you know, God may call you to be a pastor today and then call you to do ministry in the marketplace, doing real estate or doing, you know, being in the restaurant business tomorrow. You know what I mean? And just staying fluid and adaptable and obedient to what God is calling you into. And so I really feel like that's really how you got transitioned to this space, because you were on track to be a pastor, right? You had your bachelor's in biblical studies, and then you like made this transition into real estate. And, you know, here you are now being completely like at the top from my lens. And I think from a lot of people's lens, I'm pretty sure that most real estate agents wish they could sell 14 units in a quarter. You know, maybe some of them or most of them are selling 14 units in the year. What about like, what's your real goal in amount of units sold or amount of people that you're going to be able to serve? What's your yearly goal look like?
To backtrack just a little bit on the real estate world, so most agents, there's about 50,000 people that have their real estate license in San Diego. Out of that, 80% of deals are done by the 20% of that, and then there's the elite of the 1%. Our team is part of that, and I don't know my number specifically, but I would put myself there, and not just to say like the average full-time agent does 6 deals a year. That's the average full-time agent. Which is still some good money that would, you know, but that's, and so just
it puts a roof over your head.
Just to put in perspective of that. And so that's for a full-time agent, like no other job. And then there's a lot of part-time agents that have their license. So goal for me, I mean, it's more of a financial number that I had, really to just be able to make sure that my family's taken care of, have big goals to get to where I need to be, so that, I mean, the long-term goal is to be able to get to a place where I have enough investments so that I can be free to really, if I want to go on a mission trip for a year, I can do that. If I want to just serve at LOCF unpaid for the rest of my life, I have the businesses to support that. Because I saw the challenge for a lot of people is maybe a lot of people want to, and maybe it might be a little different. Maybe it's helping out pastors to get to that place. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in regards to my passion to help out pastors get into retirements or helping the ministry leaders. Because I think there's a discrepancy of, well, to work in church, you got to be in the big church of the Rock to be able to survive in San Diego specifically. We're just talking about San Diego alone. We don't need to talk about anywhere else. So, you know, we talk about pastors, maybe in order for them to survive, they have to have, you know, the wife. A majority of people that I at least knew in my circle, they had a wife that had a good paying job, and the pastors didn't get paid much. And but they loved it and they wanted to go full time into it. And you know, like our pastor, he has a full time job, separate outside of the full time pastor, and that's a lot of work. You know, it's a lot. So how can I either be able to be that individual to help in the church and not put a financial, what I would call stress or burden in the church? And there's this all like, let's go back. Do we pay people? Is there volunteers versus paid staff? And it can go down a whole rabbit hole. But from my experience, from how I want to impact in that world, in the church space, is if I can just individually be there, or with business and things that I'm learning now, I think it's shaping into how can I help more maybe pastors invest into, let's say, like a capital group for investments. I've talked to other pastors like, hey, I have some money I want to put aside, or hey, let's educate you on finances. Okay, are you connected with this? Because they don't have a retirement plan.
Right.
They're gonna be in there till they, you know.
Croak out.
Croak out. And
No,
so
seriously.
that's kind of it's. I don't know. I mean, when I first got started and I said, hey, I'm going to do this just for me to get into full-time ministry. But I'm thinking now it's just bigger thinking to, no, it's beyond just me serving, because it's like, how do I help the ones that are serving in the church, and how can I support them financially? And what is the biggest thing of what is a legacy and beyond just me? Like at the end of the day, how does it continue to carry? Is it a corporation? Is it a specific nonprofit to help these pastors and ministry leaders be financially good so that they can really flourish in what they're good at with their family, with the church, and not have to have another part-time job or full-time job. So seeing those challenges that they experience and what I learned in business, how can I bring it back into vocational ministry?
Wow. That's really good, bro. I definitely align with you on a lot of that. What I'm hearing from you is really honoring your leaders.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of Christians fail to do is they tend to honor themselves, or even just stay within their family.
Yeah.
Like they're just here to honor their wife, or honor their spouse, honor their kids, whatever it may be. But like, we are called to really honor the kingdom, ultimately.
Yeah.
And through that, God gives authority to these people, these leaders in our lives that we are also called to submit to.
Yeah.
And through that, we're able to get that much more. You know what I mean? Because they're able to fill us spiritually. They're able to fill our cup and really guide us and shepherd us in a way that, other people can't. That's literally what God's purpose is for them, and their unique assignment.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me that, us as a whole church, like the church, not LOCF, but the church, that we look to our leaders and we're like, they're not doing enough. They're not this, you know what I mean? And really trying to like almost tear down our leaders. But we need to be the ones that are honoring, edifying, and building up and encouraging them, because like you said, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, especially with our senior pastor being a full-time, like you said, full-time pastor, full-time employee, and with him, it's like he's just trying to be used in every space, and not to be oblivious and negligent to what's going on in the world. That's what he's explained to me, is like he's in that space also to like just not be unaware. We need to be aware of what's going on and be wise to make better decisions, whether that be for the church, which also another thing that pastors can tend to get locked into is we're locking in too much of what's happening just within our congregation, and not what God's calling us to in the global church. Because our lens and our scope, like we have these blinders on our eyes that are hindering us from allowing us to partake in that. Pursue missions here, or to do ministry here, whatever it may be, whatever really God's calling you to, because we get locked into this bubble. But when we honor our leaders, we're going to be able to go and like really push the gospel, which is truly what our ultimate call is to do. Right. And I think that that's really where we're able to differentiate the two when it comes to doing business and ministry or ministry. It's that we get to do business and ministry.
Correct.
You know what I mean? We're able to go and lay hands on people. Like it's amazing the things that I've been able to do with the lab. Like, I'm able to minister to every single person that comes here and, that's been on the podcast so far or that I've recorded with, and just being able to share the good news, you know what I mean? And for me, my mission, what God's really been telling me, the assignment on my life is you're just here to activate and multiply people in and through their gift, And so whatever that looks like, if that's singing, if that's you just needing a space to create some merchandise that, allows the gospel to just be spread through merch. Whatever capacity that, God is really calling you to go out and make disciples in it. Like that's what I'm here to invest into. And that's really what Keys to the City is about, is it's a platform, a stage for people to be able to invest back into them and letting them know that you're here to make impact and culture and communicate to your city,
Yeah.
you know, and that city can be as small as San Diego, or it can be as big as the city as a whole or the church as a whole. You know what I mean? The global church.
Yeah.
Right. So what's kind of the 5-year game plan for you, as far as, or is it a 5-year? Is it a 10-year? What pace are you on, where you're gonna start stepping into this mission of, let's get pastors signed up on this? What's it looking like for you right now?
Yeah. Just to backtrack a little bit, as you were kind of talking, and I was thinking, I was like, okay, what, I think there's always been something in your heart that God's given you ever since you were born, right? So you think about, okay, what is the recurring theme, I guess you would call it. And maybe callings change as you just getting, married now. That changes when you're a dad, that your calling. I don't know if the right word is change, or it just shifts. It gets molded into something newer.
Yeah.
And so kind of the back theme, I've always, like, just thinking for, coming from a background of my parents divorcing as a kid at 3, talking to my therapist and, like, just going through that. I've never been able to go through, but it's enabled me to be able to help people feel like they belong. And I think when you, like, really look at the root of things, that, divorce rate is 50%. So it's like a lot of people go through that and they feel like they need to, either they feel like they don't belong, or they feel like they need to do things to belong. And so growing up in the church and feeling like, man, I wasn't the in crowd. And then when I was a youth leader and we would do with other churches, whenever we'd have those events, I love to host people. I love to, say hi to people and things like that. But my initial thought after talking to everyone, I always try to, go from a bird's eye view and see who doesn't feel like they belong, who needs to be approached. Everyone else is getting taken care of. Who needs to be served right now? Who's sitting on the corner and just needs a friend to just say hi. And it's awkward, it's hard, but I put myself in that. So, and then it translates to just where I'm at now. It's like, hey, how can I continue to serve people? I really, do we need to be in the in crowd or things like that, or find your affirmation on things, or the material things? Being in the real estate game, you get, surrounded by people with material things of nice designer clothes, nice houses, nice cars, which are all cool things. But if you don't have everything else lined up, and, which I've struggled with before, I would try to get those things and everything else wasn't lined up. I was still in debt, but I was trying to show off there, and in a good space now where, thankfully to my wife, she's helping me really, refocus our goals. And, maybe I don't, like, ideally we have our 5-year goal or 10-year goal or 20-year goal. I'm just like, I look at it a 1 year. I mean, I have these things, but I'm just ready to be flexible. And how can I make that, in my mind, sometimes I even think of, like, okay, I look at my 5-year, I look at my 10, and how do I make it in a year or 2 years, and how do I expedite it? And so I kind of look out, and then can I do it sooner than that? And if it doesn't work, it's fine. I just keep my head down. So I don't know. That's just kind of how I work. I don't know if that's the right way to do it. But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a one size fits all.
Yeah.
But I've from my experience of just hearing you and having our brotherhood, our relationship.
Yeah.
I always imagine you as being that visionary that's just like, you think the 5-year ahead, the 10-year ahead, 20-year, 50-year even. I don't know how far. I've never really asked you that question, and so I just wanted to see, if you really have taken the time to, like, really envision that out and what that really looks like for you. So have you or do you just, like, you're like, yeah, I kind of have a rough sketch, but like you said, I'm always willing to be adaptable and flexible.
Yeah. It's kind of a mix of, I mean, we have to have those goals. I think it's good to have the 5-year, the 10-year, 20-year goals of, like, hey, well, I think right now my main goal is, like, how can I retire? Or when I think of retire, I think of not that I don't want to work. It's how can I be financially free? So that's really my target goal. And I have that because I feel like I can do that, and I feel like I could do much more. So that's why I have that goal of, okay, if I can, I'm 32, just turned 32. If I can be financially free by 40, and when people normally retire by 65, 70, well, I have 25, 30 years ahead of these people. What can I do with that extra time?
Right.
Who can I serve? I feel like I can, just leveling up our thinking of, man, I feel like there's a lot of bigger things that can come, but I can't get there until I get to this, financial free where I don't have to work and things are, passively coming in. And it's easier said than done, but there's different strategies to do that. Or, it's never, I don't know if you're kind of tracking with me. I'm kind of going all over the place, but that's
No, yeah.
kind of where it is. And
I
so,
track you.
I look, okay, have I hit that goal? What do I need to get there? And so this year in my business is just all in on, I try to do too much. I think years prior, I was like, okay, I'm going to get there through doing this business and 4 other businesses and this, or I'm going to hire this coach and this coach and this coach, or this training and this training and this training. This year, I've stopped all of them except for just being a great realtor. As simple as that.
Yeah.
And that's really been a game changer for me, is just hyper focus on that and hitting that goal of, that number where I need to be. And okay, if I hit that goal, how do I get to the next level of that? How do I double that? And right now I'm on track for hitting that financial goal. And so the goal for me is just to stay focused, keep it simple, make it fun, and be wiser with my finances and budgeting.
Is that something? So, no, I was definitely tracking the entire time, but is that something that you took away from your coaching experiences, or is that something that, just kind of resulted as a result of burnout? That you kind of wanted to go back into this hyper-focused real estate only type mindset versus taking on these other things? Was it a coach or was it your own experience?
Yeah, I think a mix. The coaches that we had, a few of them would talk about that, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I think it was just stretched too thin and too wide, where I'm not ready to get to that stage yet. I'm not like I thought I mastered one, and with the market kind of shifting, I was just like, okay, let's just focus here. And it was a lot, committing to there. And I would feel like I was just giving scraps to everything versus just doing that. And for me, it's like, I think it goes back to, hey, I want to kind of quote unquote please everyone. So I need to spread myself thin there. And so now I'm learning to, as we get older, it's, hey, who deserves our time? And because our time we can never get back. So who deserves that? That's the price. Because before I would just spend my time like all over the place with all different people. I thought that was effective, and it wasn't. It ended up being just a lot of surface level relationships. And I don't talk to a lot of those people. I just like, cool, I have a lot of associates or acquaintances, you would call them. But, and I felt like that was the goal. But now it's like, okay, I just want a solid crew. Of course, I'll stay in touch with other people because I can't just have a solid crew and expand my business. But I don't need to maybe give my all of my time, I guess you would say, and all of my efforts.
Definitely.
If that makes sense.
No, yeah, for sure. So what I'm taking away from this is like time is your most valuable asset.
Yeah.
What do you exchange in place of time? Like what would you dedicate your time to?
I mean, starting with my family, right? It's my wife, my family. That's first, and time with the Lord, and just even just kind of rediscovering of like, okay, I've had best friends and things like that on the personal level of like, okay, I feel like just throughout my life, and my wife's even asking like, how come you were close with that person for that season, or that person was your best friend? And I don't know if it's just like a personality thing of like, I really could feel like it's a blessing and a curse, because I feel like just my character personality is I could get close to anyone, like in regards to like friendship, because I just like pour my heart out and I'll be open to them. But just learning to, not everyone needs to know everything. I've learned that, and just through past experience, and not everyone will appreciate you the same way you appreciate them. And I thought it was like that, and it's not.
Yeah.
And I can turn that into bitterness towards those people that don't give the same effort, or I can just be like, hey, no, it's all good. Like, it's not meant for me. I'm gonna. And so it's just finding that fine balance, because with God's grace and just in our in our walk. It's like we're meant to serve, we're meant to give. And it's not like I'm going to love people less. It's just how, I think it's just refocusing of, because time shows how much effort's put into that relationship. And so I think now it's just a measurement of time per relationship or per people. And so now it's fine tuning that more so than, not like I'm like, forget you guys, I hate you all. No, it's nothing like that. It's just, hey, I'm just going to tune back the time with you, and I'm going to increase the time with those that, we see same value. And so it's a struggle that I go through. And even with my wife, she's like, well, why do you do that? Like, I'm like, it's the same thing of like, giving grace to other people. And I feel bad for these people, or something like they need help or things like that. I just want to serve and give. And I don't know if that's just like the shepherd's heart to help people out.
Yeah.
So it's that fine balance.
Yeah.
That I'm
100%,
searching
bro.
through.
Yeah. No, I can see that in you. You know what I mean? Because like, for those that don't know CJ, he is like the most optimistic, just friendly person that you can really meet. Always has a smile on his face. Always gonna make you laugh at some point when you're hanging out together. And is just so super charismatic, and that's something that I find a lot of joy in when being around you. And I think that a lot of other people find that in you as well. And I think that also just contributes to how successful that you've been in your business. Is like, you have the shepherd's heart. You also have a heart for hospitality and a posture for that.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe some people might trade their time in for the money and their focus like, oh, like, let me sell 14 units. Like this is like, I have these numbers. These are the statistics. This is how I can do it. Like solely on business. But with you, I really feel like it's the law of attraction, and it's like, and it's God just making room for you, through your gift.
Yeah.
And so what I try to coach through is like, I don't trade time in for money. I think like a lot of high level entrepreneurs will say that same thing, but trading time in for your gift, trading time in, not just for value, like there's something even more than just your value. You know what I mean? Like, no, trade your time to maximize your gift. Let your gift make room for you, right? Biblically speaking,
that's good.
God is here to make your gift make room for you. And so like, yes, you yourself are just naturally going to, be able to attract business by, just having a good product or whatever it may be. But like, ultimately, like, if you want to maximize the amount of time spent and the amount of return on investment that you can really get, I really feel like that comes in and through your gift. You know what I mean? You can do, you can be the one that goes and gets into real estate investments, or the one that gets into, buying laundromats, buying this and that, like all of these like super, passive income businesses and things like that. But from my experience is when I am sold out on using my gift to honor God, that's when like the multitude of blessings just really starts to pour in. And that's where I really think that God's opening that door for you, where it's like, you dropped all these other things. You focused in on what's really important, which is the posture of your heart, building the relationship with your wife, the investment into, all right, it's real estate, but it's not just how many units I'm going to be selling, but how much investment into my gift as far as serving, as far as my shepherd's heart, as far as how much I'm going to love on this person and invest into these relationships. That's opened that door for like, all right, now you're a champ. How do you feel about that?
Wow, that's big, bro. Because I'm reading a book. One thing, I think it's Gary Keller, but it's like, what is the one thing that leads to? Because there's so many avenues in any business, and specifically in real estate, how you can get opportunities and deals, and I'm leading a group of 4, going on 5 people under you group. How do I build them up? What is their one thing? What is their passion and talents, and how can I bring them up too? So kind of looking through how I'm able to be where I'm at is, it's through the relationships. That's where my bread and butter is. That's the most enjoyable part of my business, is I get to work with people that I know, or their friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
And even just in a space of like, man, there is just the mindset of abundance. There's just so many people out there to serve, that I don't need to serve everyone. Not everyone's going to be a good fit for me. And maybe God's not opening that door for me to serve that specific person.
Right.
Because he has a task for me to help out another one that deserves my time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of figuring that out as I'm pouring into my team, helping them grow. I think it's just, for me, I've built and I'm continuing to build my business just on stronger relationships, spending my time wisely with those that we see the same value with each other, versus trying to force myself to have the relationships of those that don't value me, which is kind of interesting. I don't know, that whole thing of like, I don't know, when you're in the dating phase, is like you don't go for the one that's like, that likes you or something,
Mm-hmm.
or like, is giving you that attention. You try
Mm-hmm.
to go for the one, and all of that's like a girl. It doesn't matter, but you go after the one that doesn't give you that attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like kind of trippy how, we have people in our sphere, and I'm just, reflecting on like, who are the people that, see eye to eye, they value me. Who can I give back? Maybe I'm not giving them that time that they deserve, and I'm just trying to give my time to people that don't value me. And so it's a huge, like, just eye opener.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's never hate towards the people that don't value me. It's I think it could just be more fruitful when you spend time with those there in that space.
That's good, bro.
Yeah.
So a lot on relationships, a lot on partnerships.
Yeah.
Outside of the ultimate relationship, which is having a relationship with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, is it the partner that really stands beside you day and night, which is your wife, that really helps you get to this position now?
Mm-hmm.
Is it is it that? Is it forming the other relationships
Yeah.
as well?
Mm.
How important to you in business or just throughout life is a marriage partner? I hear that often, like in business talk and in entrepreneurship, like it's the wife that is one of the most pivotal pieces. How do you feel about that? Or what's your thoughts? You're 6 months married.
Yeah, 6 months married.
6 months married.
No, going on 8.
8 months.
Yeah. So my pride wants to say it's not the well. At the end of the day, yes. When I would give my wife credit to helping me where I'm at now to navigate through it.
Yeah.
And I tell her I appreciate that, babe. Like, for you to open my eyes to this, and I think that's why God's given me her for that. And I think God's given her me in the most humble way.
Yeah.
Is to help her be open to more relationships. It doesn't. I think like she's so used to having like maybe the standard of I'm gonna be friends whoever I grew up with, like from elementary till now. I'm gonna ride with them, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of the opposite of like when I look back, I don't really have like. I still stay in touch, or I'll say hi, what's up, nothing bad. It was just never like, the friends that I had that I was close to in elementary are different from middle school and high school. It's always been different seasons. And I don't know if that goes even to the root of, again, divorce versus my wife coming from a background of, parents who have been married 30 plus years, mine married for a couple of years. And, but I think we both help that balance of like, no, babe, I think it's okay to have new friends in your life, and it's okay to open yourself up to these people. And vice versa for me, it's, hey, CJ, just dig deeper in the relationships you already have. And so we kind of balance each other out there to because we in all honesty and vulnerability, it's like we clash because we're like, we don't see eye to eye on even just relationships or friendships. Like, I'm like, no, this is how you do it. She's like, no, this is how you do it. And I'm like, well, I think if you kind of look at it and you step back, it's like, I think there's both good perspective on both sides, and it can come to a good agreement on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've been married 3 years now. Just hit our 3-year anniversary, earlier this month.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, bro. And in our experience, like, we've been dating for 8 years, and we've been friends, for longer and stuff, or at least knowing of each other, we weren't really like that friendly. But Steph and I are just like complete polar opposites. And I really I thank God for that now. Like we've had our seasons of clashing, butting heads, and it's just put us in like the craziest states of turmoil and everything. But at some point, like God really softened our heart towards each other and really started to like show us like you are different for the reason of like you're able to learn from each other, like really learn from each other.
True.
And you have to be willing to adapt and be open minded to reciprocate that between each other and compromise. It's either compromise or it's like recognizing like, oh, this actually is a good idea, and like let's just agree here.
Yeah, that's
you
good.
know what I mean? Or
that's
let's
good.
like it doesn't always need to be a compromise as far as like, all right, let's find the middle ground. But like, hey, like, okay, you know what? I see exactly what you're saying here, and like let's just move towards there. And it's just been a super game changer for us when we started to change our lens to like look at it from that perspective. I think that our businesses has flourished since then. Our relationship for sure and our marriage for sure has really like shaped and molded from then. But for so long I would always be like struggling to be like, oh, like allow me to lead, you know what I mean? Like let me lead, or like and what that really looks like, you know what I mean? Do you like ever feel like because you have made great success prior to being married that like you struggle with the idea of bringing in this union, and like you've done things a certain way for so long, like going on 31 or so, right? 30, right? You've done things for so long a certain way, and now bringing in this new person, like because you're still so fresh to it. What are your thoughts on what that looks like leading, submitting, what that looks like in your life and business, whatever it may be?
Just learning. I mean, just the attraction of like, okay, there's so many people you look up to in the business world and mentors and things like that. So I got connected with like this business owner like Ryan Pineda, who really prioritizes his family. He gets things done in 30-hour work weeks, and he's home by a certain time, and he's there to spend time with his wife and kids. And he gets but he's growing his business, and he's been doing that for many years. I got to golf with him, and that was probably the biggest takeaway of like, I want that type of lifestyle. I don't want the other side where you're working 100 hours a week, you're justifying it. Oh, I gotta work, and then you're never home and things like that. It's like, what are you even working for? And then you justify, well, I'm working so that I can provide. And don't get me wrong, there's times where I tell Jasmine, hey, I gotta work late tonight, and she'll understand. Maybe I'll just do a lunch date instead of a dinner date. Thankfully, I'm able to be flexible there, and she's flexible. But I'm learning to just the whole routine, even as working out, being home by the time she gets up, make her coffee, and then she can go to work. It just makes sure I get my butt to the gym at a certain time, get the day started earlier, and finish the work day earlier so that I can be home by the time she's home. So it's just caused me to be more efficient with it. And doing these things in the shift, that like, my business is better than it's ever been. Right. I'd if a coach were to ask you like, hey, would you rather have a business where you're doing more and, having to work more, and making that money, or having to work less and doing the same amount? I'm like, how do I make the same amount or more and work less? So that just means you gotta step up your game and skills. You gotta step up your leverage. You gotta, and I think being a team lead in your group has caused me to step up my game. I have to know my stuff. I have to be on top of it. I have to do what I'm telling others to do. Right. And so
it holds you accountable.
It holds you accountable to another level. Before, it was just like, cool, you have your leader above you, but they'll keep pat you in the back. But now it's like, no, it's not just me, but I'm responsible for the success of the people under me and their families and their livelihood. So I got to be on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's been good. It's been good. It's been helpful.
That's good, bro.
Yeah.
I'm super happy for you guys. Shout out Jasmine.
Yes.
We love you.
Love you, Jasmine.
Yeah, man. Do you have anything that you want to add or ask me?
Yeah, man. I'm just if you were to, I think we've talked about it before, and with all these different businesses where you're at, what would you say is your one thing that is your maybe calling or gifting, the theme of all these businesses? What do you think is your one thing, if you can sum it up?
The one thing that sums up between all of the businesses. Well, um, I don't have a theme. I mean, I guess it's. I mean, we've kind of touched on it
Yeah.
through this podcast, but it's really just investing into your gift.
Mm.
Um, with Smackin', like really the purpose at the time of what God was calling me into, because like at that time I wanted to start my own barbershop. I was planning on going to barber school,
Yeah.
go up in my own barbershop, and then God was like, no, start here.
Mm.
And it was because I was looking to make a big leap into something to really, establish some form of credibility.
Mm-hmm.
That was all supposed to come back to this exact moment in time, which is I wanted to have a business podcast. I wanted to have a financial podcast to be able to become a coach and become credible to help people and serve people in their business or financial problems, or just getting them to the next level. And it's shifted in perspective, because now with the way that my faith is and just walking in accord to the Bible, and instead of just off a principle, it's how do we invest into your gift and not just for the money aspect, but how are we going to continue to seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and then let the other things be added to it.
Yeah, it'll flow. Right. Yeah, the focus of the do the process and the actions that you need to take. I mean, the finances and things that just flows naturally, just like as you seek the Lord and seek him first, and everything else shall be added. It's literally that. Right. It's always been like, hey, if I can serve more people, and if I could, communicate more with people, if I can see how I can help them and how I can serve them, well, that leads to more transactions. Right. It's not like, well, I need more transactions, so it's just you're focused on that. It's the focus is on the wrong thing. It's like, are you focusing on the blessings from God, or are you focused on God and then he gives you the blessings? So that shift there that's been a game changer for me. When you look at, I got to get the commission, I got to make some money, it always ends up bad. It works out for a little bit, but when I started to just focus on serving people, it's led to more transactions, which has led to the financial gain. So it's a good reminder, brother.
Yeah, and that's really what, Smackin' through that obedience, and then, eventually it became to the recognition that I need to go a step further and start to honor God and start to honor my leaders. And then that opened the door for the MK Lab. And then the MK Lab now has the podcast studio where I was supposed to, start the podcast 5 years ago before Smackin' was even here. Like, I literally bought these exact microphones that we're recording off of right now all those years ago. That's crazy. With the intention of starting a podcast out of my garage. Yeah. Because I had already been investing. I had already had the small business knowledge, but God was like, take this next leap. Yeah. And then that's when Smackin' came, and Smackin's now been able to fund this. And now I'm able to speak from an even higher level of what it looks like to take an asset and use that asset to leverage another asset. And then, you know what I mean? Like, and not just in forms of like, oh, use cash to buy this, or use, stocks to buy this. Yeah. No, like literally take your business and use that business to buy another business. Use your gift to buy, to continue to expand in your gift. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, that's really where we're at now. And it's like, I guess the overall theme, right? We said invest into your gift, but I really think like the overall theme here is honor God, right? And so with that being said, Keys to the City is really just a platform, like I said, to really provide education and provide community, provide opportunity and platform for people to understand what true success can look like. Yeah. And really bringing on high-level individuals that have been making noise in the community and have a heart and desire to continue to make impact in the community and serve a purpose that's bigger than just themselves. Yeah. Right. And so Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." And you are to go out and use that gift to continue to be a light a salt and light in your community, and really just give God the glory. And so I really pray and hope that you continue to do so, and you continue to make impact in your city, continue to make impact for the kingdom, and don't forget that, you know, God is always there for you, and he loves you, and if you seek first his kingdom, all these things will be added to it.
Amen.
All right.
Love it, brother. Appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.